Back in 2019, I worked for Domino's. It was my most memorable evening. I was simply beginning. I was just working there since I really wanted the cash for school supplies for my destruction and so on. So night, I was being prepared. While you're being prepared, you are joined by the supervisor on your initial, not many conveyances to perceive how you do, and assess you, and train you. It was late, around 8 o'clock, and we got a request. Our store was an electronic, like they are today. We were unable to see where the areas were on a major TV. We needed to go find them on our telephones for bearings. Got the headings, the pizza. I actually recall the request for enormous pizza with 2 containers of pip. We stacked them into the vehicle, and it was my vehicle since I was the one being assessed. So it was me, my chief, and another coach, whom I didn't have a clue about that. The house we were going towards was way away from how, in no place my town was old, however. So it was genuinely considered normal to go miles without anything. It took us around 15 to 20 minutes to arrive. The house looked old, truly old. It was an old 2-story home, and it was totally shabby. The wood was delivering a portion of the windows had sheets on them. It was anything but a house you'd anticipate that individuals should reside in. I inquired as to whether we needed to go up there, and he told the 2 of us indeed. Yet that he'd accompany us and give them the pizza and soft drinks. I reluctantly escaped the vehicle and saw that the other person, who was new, was extremely anxious too about strolling to that front entryway. We at last began advancing toward it when the other train said he assumed he saw somebody watching us from the furthest window, from us higher up, our chief. Let him know he was simply distrustful, and that they shouldn't require over a little while, making a point to advise us to keep mentally collected and be pleasant. I don't have any idea how I dared to ring the chime, yet I did, which obviously didn't work. So my chief beat on the entryway, no response. We held up around 15 seconds, thumped again, more diligently this time, still no response, all getting restless, and there was a smell of something spoiled. We were unable to know if it was the house, or on the other hand, on the off chance that something inside had passed on at last. After about a moment of eagerly holding up, somebody opens the entryway, yet not totally. They opened the entryway, just appearance, part of their face, and asking what our identity was and what we needed. My director said we had their pizza. The person immediately opened the entryway and acted all cordial towards us. It squeaked the 3 of us out. It was a more established man of honor in his 50s. Basically, he let us know it took him some time to open the entryway, since it's difficult for him to get around some boat. Our supervisor gave him the receipt and inquired as to whether he was paying with money, or checked the man, let us know he'd be back with the cash. He left the front entryway open, so I glanced around to see what the house resembled. Inside, void, totally unfilled. No furnishings or anything in that house, simply the floor and several covers. Clearly, this person was destitute and was residing here since no other person was. That is the point at which we heard strides coming from higher up, more than one individual too. That is the point at which we became awkward about this present circumstance. The acknowledgement of what different workers said turned out to be valid. Somebody was likely watching us as we strolled to the front entryway. My supervisor hollered out, on the off chance that the man had the cash at this point. However, he never got a reaction back. The strides quit. Everything simply stops. It became quiet. We just heard the 3 of us breathing. My chief advised us to remain at the front entryway, in the event that the man returned, and that he'd go round the house to check whether the man required help or something. We gestured at him, and he strolled towards the back. Both of us heard strides. However, not from higher up. They were coming from underneath us. Some way or another, we both looked totally confounded and befuddled, and truly uncomfortable with this whole circumstance. That is the point at which we heard our director shout, and heard Berserk running. He raced to the front of the house where the 2 of us were, and advised us to return into the vehicle, and that we're leaving. I've never determined a vehicle quicker in my life. My chief made sense of, for us, that when he was strolling around to the back, he saw a gathering in the obscurity encompassing a kind of stopgap pit fire. Yet it was tiny. He drew nearer to them and saw in the center was a child deer. The gathering of men were lounging around, snickering. That maybe they found it entertaining. The moment he said that, My heart nearly stops the new fellow and I quit just later. And I heard the director. Very much a month after this, I had never worked. Conveyance work again. Clearly, we strolled into some sort of cool gathering. I'm simply happy we left when we did.